Hello, very good afternoon, good evening to everyone. Myself, Dr. Renu Mishra, and I welcome all of you for today's webinar, which is on systematic literature review and meta analysis. So, I'm welcoming you from another part of the world, that is Melbourne, and here timing is 7:30, so that's right, good evening. And I'm sure that we have participants, we have audiences from different zones of the world, which is very nice. And I think which is the one part I I look forward for this kind of webinars because you get to know, you get to interact with people across the world. So definitely, Mr. Francis, we'll be learning together some aspects about systematic literature review and meta-analysis. Uh, this webinar, as you all know, is being organized by research graduate. And one thing which I always say that basically, research graduate is a one-stop solution for all of you who, at times we stuck around for things like what to do, where to move ahead in our research, and very basic, very basic, like which topic to work on, how to go for our research paper writing and formatting and everything. So what happened is that uh, we kind of stop ourselves during that. So for that, just be shoulder upon research graduate and they'll help you out. Hi Seema, no problem. Shino, yes, you'll definitely be getting the recording. Something urgent which we can't neglect is definitely it's not in our hands, so please go ahead, you'll be getting the recordings and all. And we were talking about research graduate, so guys, you have because I have seen many students with me that those who are a good researcher but generally lacks around some of the other aspect of research, that is they're not able to choose a right topic for themselves, or probably they're good in research but they're not able to format it properly. Whatever is the concern is, please just be rest assured that research graduate will be taking care of everything. All right, so when it comes to how you can get in touch with them, so the email ID and the phone number and the website on which you can browse research graduate is displaying on your screen, and be rest assured that you'll be assisted with best of the people. All right, now the concern which has is that will I be getting the recording? Yes, you will be getting the recordings. So our webinar is around 90 minutes, depending upon the coverage of the topics and all, followed by a question and answer. So that which I take very seriously, I mean seriously as in I don't go by tickle of the clock. So as many questions you have, if we reach beyond 30 minutes, that will be taken care of, not to be worried about. And ppts, recordings and certificate you will be receiving on your registered email id. So just be rest assured, just you get any glitch during the webinar or internet concern, so don't worry, you'll be getting the recordings. Just a concern, just a suggestion rather, that please increase your video quality on YouTube to 720p so that you can have a better experience. Also, the people who are viewing this webinar from phone, I would request, if it's possible for them, please switch on to a larger screen. That will give you a better experiences again. All right. So now it's time to get started. Okay. Now, first thing is that what is systematic literature review? Okay. Now, let me just first take your attention towards literature review. Okay. So when you say literature review, so this word, or rather this term literature review, is consisted of two words, that is literature and review. Just a glance on literature. Literature is any related published material to your topic. Okay, anything which is in the documented form, or published, and it is related to your topic, it is literature for you. Okay, so for instance, any particular case, any particular article related to me and my topic, me and my topic is in my research topic, will be considered as a literature for me. Just be rest assured that it should be from an authenticated source, reliable source. Okay, when you read that material for your own purpose, for your own research purpose, as in for your own research, and understand and make use of that published material. That becomes review. Okay, you give your opinion about it. Okay, so that becomes literature review. Now, systematic literature review is an extended term with literature review, which says that there is a criteria according to which we are reviewing the literature. Okay, so while doing normal literature review, okay, when we are doing normal literature review, we categorically do not follow this criteria. But when we are talking about systematic literature review, just pay attention here, because many of you, I'm sure, must be doing their research completely on systematic literature review criteria. Okay, in fact, in the west side of the world, SLR based theses, they are very popular. I mean, a couple of my students also, they did SLR based their PhD thesis. So it's a very common and very popular research method. However, just one thing to focus here is that you have to have a very clear research criteria on which you will go on and understand your literature review. Okay, that is why we say that systematic literature review, because you have a criteria to follow, which makes your literature review a systematic one. Okay, so as the definition says that you collects or you collate all the empirical evidences. Now here, with empirical evidences, what I meant is your literature. Okay, and that empirical evidences is collected on the basis of the questions you have, what you are exactly trying to focus on. Okay, now in this kind of studies, systematic literature review, or when you are doing literature review, what you have to focus on, that you should have a very clear research problem, what you want to do. Now when I say clear research problem for systematic literature review, just a tip I'm giving, just a quick tip I'm giving, that you might can have a quick literature review, because in many cases I have seen that students are not clear, or researchers are not clear, that what will be my research problem, how can I define my objectives. Okay, now for that, you can have a quick literature review. I mean, quick as in not in depth, which will give you a idea to go ahead, that what will be my research problem before moving on to systematic literature review. Okay, all right, so guys, please focus on me rather than the slides, because slides in any which ways you will be getting. Okay, so you should have a clear research problem, which will further refine into objectives and questions. Okay, now you know which way to follow. Okay, you know, this is the problem I have, these are the research questions I have, so relate to those questions and those criteria, you will be looking forward for the reviews. Okay, that's what is the main crux of your systematic review. Basically, in my opinion, when I say systematic review is is comparatively, or rather I should say this, relatively is an easy process to do. Why? Reason being, it helps you to clearly define your research problem well in advance, with your research objectives well in advance. Second thing, with systematic literature review, you know what kind of literature review particularly to be focused upon. Okay, because otherwise what happen is that when we go for literature review, many cases, we just go haywire, we just go sometime lost in our finding in the process of literature review. But with literature, if it's with systematic literature review, you know your boundaries, you know where to stop and where to begin. Okay, you know where to take a u-turn. When I say u-turn, as in where to switch from one research questions to another research questions. So it makes you a little more comfortable and little more limit in limit while going for a literature review process. Otherwise, what happened is that, again, this is what I have seen for the students is that they tend to take a long time in their literature review because uh, they tend to get lost during the process of literature review. So that's why I particularly like systematic literature review, which gives you a boundary that, this is where we need to stop ourselves. So systematic literature review, basically, it's a very comprehensive kind of research. You know which specific topics you need to, and you have a predetermined boundary, predetermined criteria according to which you will have to, you know just move around your literature review. Okay, so you have your research questions in your hand, and there is a method to go for it. Now, method as in following the criteria. So when you have the predefined criteria of research questions with you, the biasness which you tend to get into choosing the articles, choosing the evidences, get reduced when it comes to systematic literature review. Okay, now one thing I would like to tell you here is that um, many a time students feel that, that we can do systematic literature review for every topic. Okay, now here my research acumen slightly differs here because, you might can have a different opinion with me. Not every topic is well suitable for research, systematic literature review. Now, reason being that systematic literature review basically tells you a very in-depth analysis of a research problem in hand, but certain topics are well suitable, well analyzed when they are done qualitatively, when they are done quantitatively, and certain are very well can be done when they are done systematic literature review. So systematic literature review should categorically be done on the topics which you think that I have very limited access to. Let's say, for example, you would like to go for a qualitative study in which you would like to take an interviews of people. So do you think so that, I have a very limited access to the people whom I can interview, or the quantitative data, for instance, if you want to conduct a quantitative study, would be very limited. I would not be able to access that much of information. In that case, you think that, you have a extended literature review for this particular topic, go for that. So you need to very well decide that which topic is very well suitable for systematic literature review, and for that you can definitely get in touch with your supervisor as well. Okay, now, something which you need to understand, that when you're talking about the characteristics of systematic literature review, now why I chose to talk about these characteristics, because if you have a research paper, or let's say if you have a thesis which is done on the basis of systematic literature review, how will you decide that, or if any reviewer would ask you, if an examiner would ask you that, how your study qualifies to be a systematic literature review. So then, you can clearly tell these characteristics that, we have a very clearly stated title and objectives. Now, why it is very important to have a clearly stated objective and title? Because that will become the basis of your entire research. If your title and if your objective, because title give you a clear opinion. Now, in another kind of researches, you can refine your title later, or during the further course of the study. But for systematic literature review, your title should be clearly within your hand. Your objective should be clearly defined, because that's when you get a hold of the basis according to which you'll be going to move ahead with systematic literature review. Okay, now, what to be included in that study and what not be. Now, just let me just tell you example, explanation about exclusion and inclusion criteria, which you can see in third of the characteristics. See, when you talk about inclusion and exclusion criteria, they are those characteristics according to which you will choose or you will reject your studies to be included in your systematic literature review. Now, let me just elaborate it more. Now, systematic literature review demands you to choose studies, to choose articles, to choose papers, to choose cases which you will review during the course of your journey, research journey, okay, which will further help you or which will be a part of your research. All right. Now, I have 10 studies with me and I have inclusion and exclusion criteria. Now, let's say, for example, I want to conduct a study on the profit analysis of aviation companies in Middle East. Okay. Now, how the companies make profits in Middle East, companies as in aviation companies make, I'm just, assuming a topic, how they make profit while being in aviation industry in Middle East. And I want to do a systematic literature review on this topic. All right. Now, firstly, I have to very wisely choose that which kind of articles, which kind of cases, which kind of papers will be included in my research. So let's say I would say that only those cases which are talking about, or only those papers which are talking about companies originated or companies based in Middle East. Okay, for example, like Qatar Airways, Etihad, Emirates, they are Middle East companies. I will not include those companies which have bases in other countries as well. Second thing, I'm not talking about any budget airlines, like for example, Fly Dubai. Fly Dubai is a budget airlines, right? I'm not focusing on any budget airlines. So this is my exclusion criteria. What was my inclusion criteria? That the aviation companies which are based in Middle East, inclusion criteria, but not qualifies as a budget airlines. Okay, so second criteria is I am not looking any article, any paper beyond 10 years. That's my exclusion criteria because that will not give me a clear picture about the profits which companies made in last 10 years, which is very recent. Okay, so you have to be very clear in your research questions, which will give you a clear idea about your exclusion and inclusion criteria, which you have to pre-decide, on the basis of which you will move ahead with your search. Okay, now here when you are reviewing these studies, so your each study will give a reflection of your understanding about the articles chosen. Okay, now why you chose, or why, you have a list of inclusion criteria, you have a list of exclusion criteria, right? Why this, or let's say 5 points or 5 criteria you chose as inclusion, why 5 criteria you chose as exclusion, you have to justify all that. Like for example, I say that I'm not focusing on budget airlines, right? Because I want to make a comparative analysis of the profits of the aviation companies, wherein there are just 2 or 3 budget airlines in Middle East. So comparison of the profits of the companies would not be possible. So I'm justifying my exclusion criteria. Okay, why I'm not taking 10 years older, or like more than 10 years older articles for my study, because in last decade there are a lot of changes in the policies of the aviation industries in Middle East. That's why beyond that, like if I chose to study articles beyond 10 years, would not be depicting the clear picture of what is happening today in the industry. Okay, so you have to justify your inclusion and exclusion criteria as well. All right. Okay, I hope it is clearly now understood by all of you. Now, why we need to do this systematic review, or you can also understand it like that on what title, like I said to you, that on what topic you can go ahead with your systematic review. See, go for the title, or why we need to do the research systematic review is because we have a lot of literature. Okay, so when you have a lot of literature, to study on particular topic to is available. So systematically orienting that gives a clear picture to the future researchers as well. Okay. Second thing, systematic review minimizes the biasness. Okay. Let's say, for example, I am conducting a this systematic review on a particular topic. So I already have a criteria in my hand on the basis of which I am including or excluding the research articles with me. So I do not have any pre notion established in my mind that on the basis of this only I'll choose the article or I'll, not take the article. I have a clear criteria with me, which is justified, like inclusion and exclusion criteria, which is justified. I just have to follow that path. Okay. And again, why we need systematic reviews? Because you have massive number of publications in many topics. So in that, just doing a normal literature review does not give you a clear picture of the analysis. Again, for specifically for the scientific and clinician kind of people, when a lot of publications are there, it's become very difficult for you to understand or talk about very common conditions. Like for example, I'll switch to the example which I just was just discussing, that understanding the profit analysis of the aviation company in Middle East. So here my focus is just on one topic, uh, that is profit analysis. uh, I would request all of you to have a note of your questions by the end of the webinar, but I will take uh, the ones which are mentioned here. So I would request the future questions to be taken or to be presented by the end of it. I'll just meanwhile take two of them. There are a lot of research paper of one of the topic which we want to research, but the problem is most article is paid and we cannot access of a large. Okay, that I'm in, right? I agree that you require subscription for the articles. However, I will tell you by the end of this webinar, there are certain journals which are free to access as well, or you can go and visit libraries. Dr. Nietzsche, but such inclusion and exclusion concept, does it not affect the generalization of results? Now, Dr. Nietzsche, I will tell you that when you talk about generalization of results, now if you're talking about similar conditions, like if I want to do the profit analysis of aviation country in Middle East, I did that. Now somebody wants to do it in Europe, right? Now, based on the characteristics of my research environment, if they are similar, they can do that. Now, this inclusion and exclusion criteria are we choose to be specified related to our researches. However, they can be common for some other researchers as well. Because if such problem occurs that because of inclusion and exclusion criteria, we cannot generalize the results, no results of any study can be generalized. Reason being, because for every research there is a specific research environment, there is a specific, let's say for example for quantitative research, there is a specific sample characteristics, there is a specific sample size, there is a specific sampling criteria, there is specific data characteristics. So the way we generalize the results for those researches, similarly, based on the similarity in the characteristics of the research which we have conducted by a systematic review, we can absolutely generalize the result. I think I have asked your questions. Okay. Okay. Now, remaining question. I just have a request that if we can, take in after the webinar. Okay, now let's talk about the traditional reviews, just like I gave you the idea as well. See, traditional review basically, which most of us do. In fact, my PhD, or more than a decade back, I started with traditional review only. Now, traditional review is basically, I'm not in favor or in against of traditional reviews. I'm just giving you a picture. What is it? Okay, it is a approach of reviewing the article where you do not require any criteria. Okay, you are reviewing the literature with a context of any topic in your hand. Okay, now for example, if somebody wants to understand the evolution of human beings, Homo sapiens, okay, because I'll take just a couple of more examples. I'm a management person. I'll try to include different examples as well. So if somebody wants to understand the evolution of Homo sapiens, so in that case, we'll just focus on one thing, that we're looking for the articles based on the topic evolution of Homo sapiens. Like, but what era, on the basis of features, on the basis of description, we explore it during the course of our review. Mr. Harsh, we will understand Prisma diagram. Don't worry about it. Okay. So traditional review basically does not start with a prescribed research questions. We develop questions and problems on the basis of the gap we identified in traditional reviews. Okay. So traditional reviews and systematic reviews, they basically differentiate with each other on the basis of the criteria on the basis of which they are conducted. Okay. And during that also, like for example, if I'm conducting a traditional review on consumer behavior, okay, like how high income consumers are more inclined towards expensive brands. So my somewhere in my mind it will go that yes, people who earn more, they want to spend more. So my inclination would be towards finding on that kind of article which is giving me such information that yes, people with high income tend to spend more. Okay, so therein there comes my biasness, which I might later on come over, but I start with that biasness first. Okay. I have some comment or what. So far, we have learned in same webinar about the types of literature, like evaluative is, could tell us the difference with systematic literature review. See, yeah, I think Mr. Tube, right? What's your name is? Yes, similar webinar, but we were talking about the forms of traditional reviews like evaluative, exploratory, and descriptive. If you have understood them well, you would be able to make it out clearly that in those reviews, in those literature reviews, we tend to finalize, we tend to make upon our research questions or gaps. Firstly, what we do is we find the gap with us. Okay. On the basis of that gap, we formulate our research objectives, we formulate our research questions. So we are done with the literature review first. The rest of the events are focusing later. However, with systematic review, the later part takes first. You actually are looking forward for the literature review based on one questions or couple of questions you have. So your literature review is actually channelized here. That's why we say it's systematic, unless or unlike in other kind of reviews. Okay. All right. Now, a couple of exam advantages of systematic review over traditional reviews. See, the basic one is very basic. That is, you have a clearly defined questions. Now, clearly defined question, how it is an advantage, people will understand who tend to find difficulty in narrowing down their literature. Now, I'll tell you my problem as well, like what I faced. I had a problem with me. I have a topic. I had a topic with me. I will not say problem. I had a topic in my hand, which said that I wanted to understand how change management is happening in healthcare industry. That was my topic in my hand. So I just looked around the change management. So my focus was on keyword like change management, healthcare, change management, healthcare. Okay, fine. Related industry, change management and hospitality. Change. But change management around what all aspects, I was not clear about that. Okay, that happened after I did 1 year of literature review. And that's what the benefit of this systematic review is. Now, the question you might can have a question that how do you get this research questions in hand? Like in literature, traditional literature review, you do the review, then you get the clearly defined research question. Now, how to get the research questions here? See, for that, systematic literature review happens with people or happens with researchers who have a, a problem in their mind that I want to understand this. For example, an academician amongst you is already there, and who is already a teacher or a instructor for a particular topic, and when you go through articles, papers at various instances, then you come around that this is some area, this is a problem on which I should focus my attention on. Okay, I should be very specific around this part of this problem. There you get your specified research questions or objectives. Having said that, like I said earlier as well, that before a systematic review, you or any researchers who is progressing towards systematic review always had a brief traditional review or a glance on review, which gives you an idea what's happening in that particular topic. Now, systematic review basically is that way which you choose for your research. Okay, instead of roaming around for the questions during the course of literature review, you have already done that part and you know what exactly you want to do. Okay, now, so the advantages which you have for systematic review over traditional one, that halfway your problem is solved, that you know what to work upon. Okay, now, and the second thing is that a lot of biasness get minimized. Now, biasness, just understand, biasness happen when, in very layman term, I will make you understand. Biasness happens when you choose your literature based on your comfort, based on your ease. Okay, now, once that article based on your ease or that comfort has been chosen, that impacts, because you are reviewing that only, right? That impacts your later on research journey. That analysis get influenced, which you are going to do in your methodology part. Okay, so that's what's happened. Now, another one is that specifically for people, which who are not good with the very writing very narrative kind of literature review, like every researcher is not good at explaining things in detail. Now, so with systematic review, you have you have an option to go for a particular method of explaining rather than just being narrative things. So you can go for meta-analysis, you can go for qualitative synthesis. Now, when you say that qualitative synthesis, it involves focusing on the research methodology aspect of the articles which you have chosen. Okay, now what you are doing that in that part, you are basically comparing the results of those studies. Now, just understand, now people amongst you must be thinking that's the same thing which we do in literature review also, that based on the methodology they did, like similar topic, one author did on the quantitative way, one author did the qualitative way, so the results vary. Now, what happened here is, when you have predefined research questions, now based on those questions and the variables which you have chosen, what the studies had to share based on their methodologies, based on their sample, you compare the results and you give your interpretation that, or you give your understanding that, how the previous analysis, or how the previous understandings of the author actually explains their reviews. Okay, we'll have this when we'll understand meta-analysis, we'll have a clear depiction of that as well. Now, who takes generally systematic reviews? In my opinion, like like I told you, any researchers can do, but however, uh, people from multiple or various disciplines actually can go for the systematic review. So there is no boundary for the audience to that who can do or who cannot do. So this is a collection of basically the open access journal or the collection of databases primarily for the ones who are from the scientific background. However, before I move ahead, I mean, also like us, that there are many journals which needs subscription. However, journals like Sage Open, okay, journal like databases like Academia, ResearchGate, and in Scopus also there are many journals which are open access, which does not require any subscription to go. You can go ahead. Now the question, I think, mainly have arrived at this point in time. Why? Because specifically after COVID, or even in the last 7 8 years, that our literature review has shrinked to what's there on Google, like what we can actually found out from Google. We have stopped visiting physical libraries. So I'm sure that you can visit your library, your institution's library, because libraries also take subscriptions of the journals, which is free for their students. In fact, you can take the card for different libraries. Like, for example, I did my PhD from Delhi, and not from Delhi University, but a university in Delhi. So I take the subscription for Delhi University physical library. Okay, I took that. So I used to visit that library. So whatever journals, there were quite good number of journals subscription taken by the university library. I used to access them in their library on the systems. Okay, you can download them, you can take the articles with you. So this all you can do, specifically if you're after those journals which are not free, or which are not open access journals. Okay, so in that case you can visit physical libraries. Otherwise, free journals or open journals, I have told you. All right. Now, how you can do systematic review, or what are the different stages in systematic review? So you guys understand, firstly, you have to be very clear that the topic which is there in our hand, why we want to do the systematic reviews of that. Now, it has to be clearly understood, reason being, whenever you are defending your thesis, particularly for thesis, you have to be very clear about the choice of this method. Okay, that why you need to do a systematic review. Your questions should be very clear. Your research protocol should be very clear. Now, research protocol here, I'm talking about the inclusion and exclusion criteria. Okay, inclusion and exclusion criteria should be very clearly defined, and why, justifying, defined and justified. This thing should be there, because see, generally systematic review is understood as an easier method of conducting research by many examiners, by many reviewers. I don't have an opinion of such like that. It's depending upon researchers discretion completely. If the person can justify the choice of the method, it's good to go for me, like for me, or like many other researchers as well. So this is very clearly that you need to plan. You need to have a very clear research questions. You need to have very clearly justified and explained inclusion and exclusion criteria. Then you conduct the review. So you have research questions, you have inclusion criteria, you have exclusion criteria. So three things are in your hand, and justified as well. And why I'm forcing on justified, it's not like that, I have inclusion and exclusion criteria, just go ahead with it. No, you should know the why behind it. Okay, now then you go for your review, actual review, when it is happening. So you have to see that sources from where you will choose your your published researches, and how will you will synthesize that data. Now you have a lot of information with you. How will you synthesize that data? Okay, now then you have to, lastly, you have to formulate a report out of too much. You have to make the best out of the rest. Okay, so that's the basically thing. Now, data extraction basically is very important in systematic review, that on the basis of that research exclusion and exclusion criteria, you chose that study. Now, which particular aspect of the study will be a part of your report? Okay, so that understanding needs to be very clearly done here. Okay, now just have a look on this diagram. So firstly, what you do is you design your research questions. Okay, then your search strategy. Now search strategy is completely based on your protocols, like protocols, your inclusion and exclusion criteria. Okay, then you move ahead with your bibliographic databases, like various journals, where various conference proceedings, you will go for that. Identify possible papers from title and abstracts. So, what you are exactly looking for. Now you'll choose the paper, retrieve the papers. Okay. Now, further selection of the primary studies using inclusion criteria. Now, here, till here, you have a lot. Okay. Which you have chosen on the basis of research questions. Okay. Now, after this point, you will include and you will exclude the papers further on the basis of your inclusion and exclusion criteria. Now, once the included studies are there in your hands, you will extract the data out of it, and then you will synthesize and further on move on your research report. Okay, so basically, a couple of things to just make sure here that your research questions are clearly distinguishedly defined, which will help you to choose your literature. Second, your inclusion and exclusion criteria should be clearly defined and justified, on the basis of which you will filter out your studies. I would say filter out your studies. Okay. All right. Then this is the same process. I have just made it in details with you. Now, formulate a research questions. So basically, what are your objectives, your definitions, what type of study designs you will go for? Like study design, as in, you are primarily looking for qualitative studies, or you're primarily looking for quantitative studies, or you want to focus on the mixed methods design. Like if you're very specific about your research questions as well, then you will design your research protocol, like what kind of studies you are primarily looking for, like what aspect of research you would like to focus on. Based on that, similar studies you look for, your objectives, your methods. Like, for example, you only want to focus on qualitative studies. So your quantitative studies which had quantitative analysis are exclusion criteria, like they'll not be a part of your research. Okay, so on the basis of that, you will go for your inclusion and exclusion criteria. Then you conduct your systematic review. Like systematic review here can be done for different sources, your electronic sources, your print sources, and your gray literature, like databases, conference proceeding, research funders. Now here, when you're searching, just a quick tip here, when you're searching your literature review, when you're looking forward for that, go for plurals, go for synonyms. Just don't stick around one kind of word. Okay, like if I'm looking for buying, just don't stick around buying, because various researchers use different kind of terminologies for similar words having similar meaning. Like buying can be understood as purchase. Okay, so somebody must have used purchased, but you are looking forward for the studies having buying in their title, right? So they have never used buying. Why will they come into your search? So just use synonyms, more of plurals, and just relate different keywords with each others. And I'm sure that all of you knows what are keywords. Keywords. Let me just give you a quick tip on the quick highlight on keywords. Keywords are those words which helps you to go ahead with literature search. What you are searching about, they are keywords. Okay, so these words cumulatively gives you a direction towards literature search. Okay, all right. So please wisely choose them. Then comes, you select studies as per protocol. Now, as per protocol is basically like what you have decided as per your inclusion and exclusion criteria. So what exactly you're looking for. Okay, what kind of information you want to look for. Like, for example, you want information on methodology. Okay, you want, like, for example, somebody wants to assess the data on a topic which is conducted through two types of data collection method and quantitative methods. So you want to have a look on those kind of studies. So one employed one method, one employed one another method. So you want to have a relational aspects of the results of both the studies. Okay, so similar kind of studies would be a part of your research. Okay, then you have to, appraise the studies, as in, like, mm, here I have said that, at least two reviewers should evaluate. Even your supervisor can do it for you. Like, once you are ready, you can move ahead with your supervisor understanding. Okay, then comes your extraction of data. Now here, extraction of data basically depends upon, like, when you have a lot of studies with you, but they are already filtered on the basis of inclusion and exclusion criteria. Now here, basically, your understanding, your discretion as the researcher comes into picture. Okay. Now here, what I meant to say is that when one of my student did her PhD thesis on the basis of systematic literature review, we had couple of things in our mind. Like, we already had research questions with us, inclusion and exclusion criteria. So while extracting the data, it is very important for you, like what I told her as well, that it is very important for you that how much information, what kind of information needed to be included in our study. Okay, now for that, always keep your research questions and your criteria with you, even while extracting the data as well. Okay, now, because what they have written their paper for, whole paper cannot be a part of our research. Now, what kind of information, or till what level of information from that paper will be a part of our information, that depends upon researchers, your own discretion completely. Now, then comes your analyzing results and interpreting the result. Now here, what you are doing is that how the studies are, different from each other, how the findings of the studies, like one study is saying this, because all the studies, see, understand, all the studies which you have chosen, right, are on the basis of similar criteria, right? So in a nutshell, you can say that we have similar kind of studies, but no, their findings are different, right? That difference in their findings, you will that will be your results, that how the differences in the opinions of the different researchers are present. That's what systematic literature is all about, that you are basically elaborating on the prevailing heterogeneity in the current literature. Okay, now, what kind of biasness you found in those researches, how the particular evidence is strong in one and how it is weak in other, how the findings of one research is more applicable, more practical than that of another. Okay, so that is your opinion. So in systematic reviews also, you are doing what? You're basically incorporating your opinion by comparing the findings of those researches which you have chosen and presenting it for the people. Okay, that's what is needs to be done in your report. We'll skip the break time and we'll continue. Somebody said Prisma diagram, so here it comes for you. So basically, what we have all said here right now, choosing the questions and choosing the protocols and all that, and uh, reporting the systematic review, we do it with Prisma flow diagrams. Okay, now Prisma flow diagrams, basically, it is a visual depiction of your systematic review, SLR. I'll say it from now onwards, SLR. That Prisma flow diagram is an visual depiction of your SLR, systematic review or meta analysis, which we'll be talking about. Now, here what happened is that this diagram tells your, mm, can we use AI? I say AI is to analyze and extract data. What is your suggestion? Mr. Adaption, Augustine, I'll say Mr. Augustine. I will suggest, I requested everybody to present their questions later on. However, I will answer this question here. Uh, I think it is a misspelled. You wanted to write AI. So, can we use AI to analyze? See, AI these days can be used for anything. However, please make a note of it. Please be sure about that. Many universities have actually restricted on use of AI and similar and papers which are generated or data which is extracted or generated with the use of AI. Yes, Dr. Nija, how biases in literature review can be measured. See, ma'am, what I would say, Dr. Nija, that when you're talking about any kind of researcher biasness, okay, now first let's understand it at literature review level. The biasness from the researcher side arises from the aspect that in what areas the researcher is comfortable at. Okay, now how it can be measured? See, you can measure the biasness actually in which you have unintentionally incorporated during literature review when you are tend to find the research gap. So rather than going towards the methodology at us, so your research gap, see, once you are done, you when you think that I'm done with my literature review, by the end of it you should be having clearly reflecting research gap. Okay, if that research gap tend to be deceptive to you, okay, tend to be deceptive to you, clearly understand that there was a biasness from your side during the literature review. Okay, another thing is that while choosing and understanding the variables for your study, because once you're done with the literature review you should be having a clearly stating variables for you, right? Now when those variables, because the interplay of variables, how they interact with each other, how variations they cause in one another, actually is your roadmap for your research. So when you do not have any clearly defined variables with you, when you do not have any clearly defined research gap with you, please be rest assured that your literature review is biased. That biasness, I can tell you that how you can avoid that. Do not have any pre-prescribed notion. Like for example, one of the researchers which I know that he started having a preset notion that I want to do on talent. I want to do my research on talent management, talent management, talent management. So the kind of literature review he was actually searching for, it was completely on talent management. But talent management in what industry? Talent management about what? Talent management why? It was not clear. So that personal inclination about us, about any particular topic of us without any justified justification tend to include a lot of biasness. Now if you want to work on a particular topic and you are very well sure about it, that why I want to do it, and this is the reason I want to do it, and this is that not major, because if we are an avid reader about researches we know what is happening in that area. So when you see that not much of the work is happening, and this is basically the talk of the town or need of the hour, you are rest assured that you are on the right path. But when you are working on an article, or what you when you're working on a research and your personal inclination towards particular thing is actually binding you to look for the particular literature, and that a lot of work is already been done, then your their biasness reflects. Yes, Manthan, in systematic literature review can be done in historical research, and in fact it is a very popular method. All right. I hope, Dr. Nisha, have answered you. So, when you do not have any clearly defined variables and research gap, there's a time you're already late by that time. But meanwhile, just to keep a check that whether my literature review is biased or not, just having a clear look that by the middle of the literature review, you should be having a clear idea about research gap, right? Okay, now coming back to Prisma flow diagrams. Now, Prisma flow diagrams basically what we have talked about systematic literature review is a diagrammatic representation. So you start with your research questions, talking about the research protocols, and then basically this diagrams documents the number of articles you started with, number of articles you removed, number of your articles you included. So a diagrammatic representation of whatever you have done in your systematic literature review journey is Prisma flow diagrams. Okay, so it has all the justifications also. Let me show you one such example. Okay, now here you are basically, you are one thing I would also would like to tell you that one aspect of biasness which comes that generally is a notion that when you're doing systematic literature review, you need to work on a lot of articles. You should have a lot of bibliographic references by the end of your researches. Now here, what we do is that just to increase that number, we tend to duplicate the studies as well. Okay, like different sources but same studies, just to increase the number, and I've seen that happening personally. That is also a source of biasness for us. Okay, so Prisma flow diagram actually allows you to get away with that kind of biasness as well. So you are basically searching from different sources. All right, but you may come across similar studies in different sources. Okay, so you have, let's say I went for one open access and one subscription based access, and the paper is published in both the form of that same journal, and I've downloaded both, because you don't tend to remember that what all studies you have saved or what your studies you have reviewed. Many times it happens. So first is you remove those duplicates because they are not um, qualitatively adding. Same study, there's no point. So you remove the duplicated studies. Okay, then record screen for relevance. Now record sealed for relevance, here what I meant to say is that whether these records means the literature, whether the literature or whether the pieces of information which you have extracted for yourself, they are well suited as per your research questions or not. If not, just get away with them. Okay, then because here also now your questions can be like, when you already have a research question, we'll obviously we'll have a search based on a research question, but during the search of literature, we tend to do what we do. It's like more or less same kind of study. It is matching most of the aspect of research question. Let's include it. No, at that time we include it, but when we are actually doing our research, and when we are, let's say, we are on documenting the part, we tend to remove it. So Prisma flow diagram helps you to just get away with that aspect as well. So now what you're doing is you're narrowing your search. Okay, then full text articles assessed for eligibility. Now here eligibility is based on those inclusion and exclusion criteria, why you removed it. Now for example, in your report also you will say that so and so the research started with 70 articles, for example, out of which 10 articles were removed, not qualifying on the basis of relevance. Why? Reason. Again, furthermore, 8 articles were removed which have not qualified on the basis of inclusion criteria. Why? Justify. It's not like that just you're removing it. The report will have the entire explanation what you are presenting in your Prisma flow diagram. If removed, why? If included, why? Everything. Okay. Okay, then what exactly you are having with in your hand is what all studies are there having a qualitative analysis, what all studies will have a quantitative analysis. If you want to go for meta-analysis and all, you'll move ahead with that. Another Prisma flow diagram is here. Now one thing I would like to just add in here is there is no you cannot be limited in the boundary that this is the one which I showed you in the previous, and this is the only way to make the Prisma flow diagrams for all the studies. It's not like that. Just understand that Prisma flow diagram is a visual representation of the process of your SLR. Just understand like this, okay? How you have done your systematic literature review, that is what Prisma flow diagram is. Okay, so here another example of Prisma flow diagram here. Like for example, you have identified 97 articles, like records identified through database searching is record. Here I'm seeing the search literature. Okay, so the first stage is your identification. You come across with 97 of them. You screened them. Duplicacy, definitely. First is you identify, then you screen them. Record after duplicates removed, 92. It's like 5 words duplicates with each other. Okay. Now, further they were screened, records excluded with reasons, n is equal to 28. So 28 out of 98 were further removed. Why? Okay, with reasons, as in when you will explain your report, you will explain those reasons. In that also you will tell that, these many numbers were this from this one were from not in English, they were on a specific topic, methodology was irrelevant. So 4 articles were removed because their methodology was not relevant. 9 articles were removed because they were from conscious proceeding, and articles from conscious proceeding is one of your exclusion criteria. Okay, I hope you are understanding what I'm telling you in detail is. So when you are removing, all these are the reasons. Okay, one you remove because it was not in English, one you remove which it used outdated tool. Okay, for example, a particular tool is being used in that. Okay, now particular analysis is being done in Excel. Now nobody is doing in Excel, right? They have moved in for an advanced software, so you've excluded that particular study. So that particular study was qualifying when you made a search, but not fitting in the criteria of exclusion and inclusion criteria. Okay, so here appropriate justification is being given why you include. So you are left with 64 full text articles. Okay, now for them you further have to assess for their eligibility, whether they are eligible or not. Okay, now further when you will review, now here all this is what you are not considering to be a part of your search. Now, here out of 64, you further remove 18 when you are further reviewing them, okay? Because this does not fit in your, your research criteria, what you are moving ahead. Okay, same thing, same. How many number of articles? Now, studies included 46 because out of 64, you further removed 18. Studies includes 46. Additional records identified through forward backward search. Now, Heather, further forward backward search means what? Like when you think so, 46 are not appropriate enough for us to move ahead with systematic literature review. I need further detailed analysis from me. So you may actually go back to your search. It is not like that, once you are done and you refine your researches articles that they are not qualifying, I cannot search for more. No, you can go see literature review of any kind. I'm not saying traditional or I'm not saying SLR. It is a back forward process. It is a back forward process means you can actually go back to your search and look for more number of articles. Okay, so just don't be restricted in this that I cannot go back on studies. Now you've searched for more and total number of studies when you include it is 99. Again, you have additional method and example papers. So 17 you first for more. You have looked for more number of papers which are 37 in numbers, in which you have found out more methods, more examples. So now you are starting with 99 papers. Okay, this is again a Prisma flow diagram. So like I'm sure, till now you must have had a clear idea that Prisma flow diagram um, is not a rocket science. Is basically what you are doing, you are presenting it diagrammatically. So for a better understanding, one another type of Prisma flow diagram depiction, I am explaining it to you. That is, for example, you did a literature search. So from PubMed, this many article, Web of Science, this many articles, sociological abstract, these many. So total number of articles are 370. So now if you can see Here the same SLR was done on somewhere close to 99 articles. The same here number is not identified, 66, 70. Now here the number has been multiplied to 370. Okay. All right. Now again, the duplicates were removed, which were 28. These many numbers are removed. Then article rejected on title review, not relevant, did not meet the search criteria. Okay. Now this many comes out. Abstract further remove 95. Okay. Again, these many are removed, not focused on what you have in your research questions. Okay. Further, candidate studies, furthermore, 20 out of that, for further removed. So basically, if I tell you in a nutshell what exactly is Prisma flow diagram, what you have done on each stage. Okay, chosen these many, remove this many. Why? Remaining. Chosen this many, remove these many. Why? Further. Chose many, remove this many, or further added these many. Why? That's it. Nothing else. So Prisma flow diagram is that's it. That how many articles you studied, why, how many you removed, why. That's the entire story about Prisma flow diagrams, and that's what you do in systematic literature review as well. Like I said, that you should have a clear criteria, because that clear criteria of research question, inclusion, exclusion criteria will help you to channelize your study. Okay, so any extra material which is not relevant to your work is just right away removed. All right. Okay. Now comes to meta analysis. Now, basically, when you talk about meta analysis, systematic review, meta analysis, they sisters. I would like to tell them as a siblings, right? Now, let's understand what exactly it is. So, basically, what happened is that meta analysis categorically focus. Sorry, meta-analysis categorically focused on the statistical analysis. So here, this is that SLR which focus on the statistical analysis of the large, number of results, basically. So, what are these statistical analysis? What does those statistical findings means to us? That's what. Okay, now this is that statistical process which actually combines the information, which actually combines the data from different studies, and to tell what is happening these days. Now, in a very simple terms, understand, meta-analysis helps us to tell what is happening, trend. How does it do that? It takes the data from different studies, okay, and find the differences and commonality in those findings. Okay, so that's why it says that it is a further organized systematic literature review. Okay, it furthers focus. The main focus in meta-analysis is on the differences and the similarity of the what do you call as the findings of the study. Now, systematic literature review, what it does, that it gathers all the information. Okay, it takes most of the information. However, meta-analysis is that process which focuses on the results of different studies. Okay, that's what the major focus of meta-analysis, that it primarily targets on the changes, similarity, variations, heterogeneity of the results of different studies. All right, that's why it is more statistically oriented. Now, what exactly the significance of meta-analysis is, basically, we what we do is we combine the different results. Okay, we get a chance to understand the results of different studies. Okay, it tells you that what is the trend on in a particular topic is going on. Okay, also, since the meta-analysis is more statistically oriented, it is focusing or focusing more on the similarity of the results. It is more accurately telling the variations in the result. Now, one thing which I would like to tell you here is, don't conduct meta-analysis in the studies or in between the studies when there is too much of heterogeneity, because the focus of meta-analysis is on comparing these results. If there is too much of heterogeneity is there, then this comparison of the study results would not be able to happen, and this will be meaningless. So you have to be very wisely choosing when to do meta-analysis. Okay. Also, um, can we do meta-analysis without a systematic review? See, there is a lot of confusion that meta-analysis and systematic review are similar. So no, they are not similar. Basically, they overlap. However, the focus in systematic review remains on all the empirical evidences of the studies, r- and also in meta-analysis we remained focus on the results and finding and the comparison of the results and findings of the studies. Also, in meta-analysis there is less requirement of, for example, even as less as two articles you can do the meta-analysis if the results are comparable with each other, which you cannot do the same in systematic literature review. You need to have a collection of researchers to be included and excluded. Okay, so that's what happens with meta-analysis. All right, now let's move ahead with the steps of meta-analysis. Like I said, that the SLR and meta-analysis are exactly not same, although, but they overlap. So how they overlap, basically, research questions and literature review you should have clearly in your hand. Appropriate study you should choose, extract the data and analyze the data. That's all. You must be thinking that this is something which we do in systematic literature review. That's why we say that they are siblings, but they're different in nature. All right, so let's have a look closer on that. So basically, when you're talking about a well-defined research questions, for example, are women who have used oral contraceptive for 10 years or have a high risk of getting cervical cancer? This is a question. This is a research questions, okay? So this question basically recognizes and tells that whether cervical cancer is a result of the intervention of long use of contraceptive pills or not. This is the question, that whether there is a possibility of happening cervical cancer in the women who has used oral contraceptive pills or the ways methods for oral contraceptive. Okay, now after you have a look on these questions, you will look for the studies who are pertaining to this kind of issue or this kind of research question. So you are very thorough. This is my research questions and this kind of study I need to. So all those studies which are actually for the general people who are not from the science background, you will look for the studies who are primarily focusing on the aspect which is mentioned in the research question. Okay, all right. Just don't go for another thing is that when you are like this, the research questions which we have chosen, when you know that your research domain is very specific, just don't randomly search on Google. Okay, just don't go randomly search on Google. Dr. Nisha has a question. After SLR meta analysis, yes, can be done. Yes, can be done. However, like I said, the difference exactly, Dr. Nisha, occurs on the extraction of the data and analysis of the data. That's where the difference occurs, because in SLR we are actually extracting the other empirical evidences which are provided in the study. However, in meta-analysis, the main focus of the researcher is only on finding the commonalities in the results of the different studies. That's what is the major difference. So yes, you can say that to understand the similarities of the study. So just the difference on which remains SLR in meta-analysis is that the way you chose the study as well. So definitely your research question should be same. So your but you remain focused on the studies in which the results can be compared to each other. which is not actually the focus is SNLR. Yes, but you have to do the a part of literature review, or probably you have to walk on the similar path as literature review for meta-analysis. All right. Another thing difference which I told you, that meta-analysis does not require as many number of articles as SLR does. Okay. All right. Now, second is select appropriate studies. So now here is Dr. Nisha. I think the answer to your study question is that this is basically the most crucial steps. Okay. Now, here, definitely, like I said to you, yes, partially, you have to follow SLR. Her duplicate papers needs to be removed, included on the basis of inclusion criteria. You have to, decide the papers. However, one thing just need to be focused on, that just do not take studies which are poles apart in their results. Just don't do that. Now here, like I said, for the stated example which I have taken, you will go for the papers, or you'll take these studies which are primarily focusing on the health status of the women, or their age, or their ethnicity, how long they are using the oral contraceptive methods. These will be the variables which you'll be looking for in the studies to be chosen. Okay. All right. Then comes extraction of the data. Now this part of the process is basically, you can go for spreadsheet, you can go for recording the data. There are certain types of plots also, which I'll be telling you. So here, basically, extracting the data means you are particularly taking out the results of those studies. Okay. So the data which is collectively here, pertaining to this example which I'm telling you, you will be collecting the data particularly on the basis of the research issue. Okay, what is the research issue? Research issue is that whether there are high chances of getting cervical cancer for the women who use contraceptive pills, or oral contraceptive methods. So it may have that sample size. You can take study duration in which the paper has been written, like how it is a cross sectional study, or it's a longitudinal study, or what kind of statistical measure they use. You may have a discussion on that method as well, because how will you compare the results? Okay. Once you have extracted the data, then comes to analyze the data. Now you have different results in front of you. Now you will analyze that, how, what kind of similarity, like for example, the study says that the women who have used oral contraceptive methods for 5 years, they have high chances of developing cervical cancer than who have used only for 2 years. So this same explanation is being given commonly by the all the studies. Okay, so this way. Now, Lisa, how to make Prisma analysis without having any subscription for access, especially how to mention the total number of papers. And I will tell you, Lisa, this is a probably a much detailed answer to be given. I'll tell you just soon after the webinars. Okay, just be with me. Now, the question comes, how to report the meta-analysis. Again, your report will follow that you have a title in hand, you have an abstraction, introduction, methods, result discussion. Definitely, it's similar like SLR. The catch is with the results. So the catch is basically you can actually present the results with the following plots. I'll tell you what are they. See, basically, in meta-analysis, the focus is all about the results. What you have found out. Like, as I told you, meta-analysis tells you that how the results of different studies are similar or different from each other. And these studies are formulated from the same similar research background. Now, how we can represent the results? We can actually do so by forest plots. Now, firstly, basically, forest plots are one of the way to, present the results of meta-analysis. Now, I told you that meta-analysis actually tells you the trend. Okay, so this is that tool which tells you that how much results are different from each other. What are the common figures? Like for example, there are different studies. You have chosen study 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now what are the different, depending upon the nature of studies you are taking, what are the differences and the similarities in that in those chosen studies. Another one is funnel plots. Now funnel plot is again, the same way of presenting the meta-analysis, basically that what are the results and the variation in them. For example, you are studying one particular intervention, so how the same intervention has impacted in different studies. Okay, so whether there is a difference in one study and with another one, why it is so. So that funnel plot tells you the scattered differences by using the same intervention in different studies which you have studied. Now again, just one thing I would like to tell you, that how you want to present, which way you want to present your results of meta-analysis, depending upon the nature of your research. Okay, all right, then comes your bubble plots or bubble chart. Basically it depends, it's this particular, like if your study, if your research of meta-analysis based on the fact that you want to tell that whether there is a relationship between two or more variables, that will, this is bubble plot is the way to discuss that, like similarity or association between the variables. Okay. Then is a lab plots, that it is basically one of the most one of the different graph which we use to present the results of meta-analysis, particularly for clinical trials or anybody who's doing from the scientific backgrounds. All right, now, lastly, is that systematic review versus meta-analysis. Basically, systematic review gives you a more elaborated picture, and meta-analysis basically is more specific way of conducting SLR. It is statistically test the results of, or the differences or the heterogeneity of the variables or the results of the chosen study. Okay, so it is more statistically relied way of doing systematic review, that's what I'll say, because it is morely focusing on the results, how they are obtained, what are the differences on the results on the same topic of the study which I'll be choosing upon. Okay, now let's have a look on your questions. Okay, yes, NP, there are tools and software you can make use of your plots. Simply, like for example, if somebody is using SPSS also, they'll give you clear elaborated pictures of your these kind of plots which you want to uh, you know uh, make through SPSS. So you can also do it. Can you speak properly? Adventure. Oh my God, is it? I'm not speaking properly. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your suggestion. I will do it. Okay. Now coming back to the question of Lisa Rani, how to make Prisma analysis without having any subscription for access. See, Lisa, basically now Prisma flow diagram is all about what you have searched. Okay, what you have searched. Now your question says that if you do not have any subscription for access, guys, see, understand, it's not practically possible for all the researchers to have subscription for all the databases. Okay, for that you have to go for different libraries, your own institution, and you can also rely upon the open um, mm, s- uh, journals, like I told you, that you can go ahead with, like Sage Open is one of I like it, Sage Open. Now again, the question comes that which area you are looking forward for, so that particular database has a good articles in your area or in your domain, so then you can rely on those. So you have to be very specific uh, which domain you're looking for. Does that free access journal database has good articles in your domain or not? NP, yes, like I think I know a couple of them, like Open Forest is a free one. There are many more, like Open Forest free software for developing these plots. Yes, there are. What are the tools used to create this? Like I told you, just Dr. Nija, I told you, you can make use of these, you can make these softwares with the help of the these softwares. Like I think Revman 5.3 is also a good software to go for first plots. Yeah, I told you, Mrs. Dosh, I think. Thank you, Mr. Ahmed. Thank you so much. Yes, Manthan, I told you, yes, SLR can be done in historical research. Definitely, definitely. In fact, one suggestion, like one, what I have seen, if somebody is looking for any trends, any evolutional analysis, I think SLR is very well suited for those kind of topics. Yes, Trupti. If I want to do meta-analysis after SLR on topic OTT platform growth and development, how will my approach differ? Okay. Now, Tripti, your approach will differ. Like, for example, if I tell you that growth and development, okay, in this particular topic for understanding the OTT platform growth and development, I would suggest you to go for a systematic literature review. Why? I'll tell you that for meta analysis, if you choose to go for meta analysis for this topic, you will be able to understand the influence of different factors on the growth and development of OTT, and you can compare those results. However, SLR will give you a more detailed picture. SLR will give you a more detailed view of the contribution, not only the contribution of these factors, it will also help you to identify the factors. In my opinion, SLR would be a better way. Like rest, you can definitely go and get in touch with your supervisor. My sole question, yes, Mr. Amit Kumar, whether meta-analysis can be triggered in quantitative. Uh, can you just elaborate? Can be triggered in qualitative methodology? Meta-analysis, irrespective of the methodology, what the studies have been conducted in, they have used in their studies, can be conducted, right? See, how do you pick, uh, Augustine, how do you pick results for meta-analysis per paper? Also, do you only make qualitative summary when doing SLR? See, when you're talking about qualitative or quantitative, see here, like I'll first answer you the later half of the question. For SLR, when you're saying, basically SLR is more upon interpreting the results and the overall study based on your research questions, right? So you interpret the study chosen in SLR on the basis of your research questions your way. So, yes, it is more of a narrative way, qualitative summary kind of say. Now comes, how do you pick results for meta-analysis per paper? Now, when you say how do you choose results, you do not choose results, you choose studies. You choose studies on the basis of similar criteria, like we do in SLR. Then on the basis, see, understand, you have similar criteria for choosing the studies, then how the results in those studies varied with each other. Okay, SLR can be used, yes, yes, it can be used in economics, of course. Now again, economics is a very wide management domain, very subject wide subject. Depends upon what kind of topic you particularly wants to study. Thank you, Tripti, thank you so much. What are the tools for making Prisma flow diagram? See, basically, first you have to understand, adventure, that when you want to make a Prisma flow diagrams, your basic questions for to be fit into the diagram should be very clear, that on what basis you want to select the articles, on which basis you want to um, remove the article. So you can actually make the Prisma flow diagram in Microsoft Word also, but there are various different software also. I will tell you, I think Prisma ORM is the free one, if I'm not wrong. Microsoft 365 also have a Prisma flow chart. Okay, so these also you can check. How to search using the appropriate keyword on so web of science. Her, how to search? See, if you have appropriate keywords, just use a interplay of those keywords, Hirsch, to find the search on what do you say, your scopus on web of science. But however, just when you talk about scopus, for example, if you go on the website of the Scopus, they always give you a detailed Excel sheet of the journals which are registered or which are indexed with the Scopus or which are not indexed with Scopus. Why I'm telling you is that if you are really looking for some qualitative publications with Scopus only, for example, so many journals they claim to be indexed with Scopus because let's say for example they were indexed with Scopus is for 1 year, they are not indexed with them, they still claim to be. So but just by looking at that list, you'll be very clear that whether they are still indexed with them or not. Second thing is your indexing you have find out. Second thing is that the actual interplay of those keywords. When I say interplay, it means using different keywords together, you can actually find out your researches. How to write my point of view while reviewing literature? Elizabeth, okay. This question is actually a good one, will I say that. Now, when you say my point of view, I'm not saying that what do you think. See, think and interpret means different. See, you do not have to write your independent opinion in your research while you are writing literature. What you have to write is what exactly that, suppose let's say for example you have chosen two lines to from X literature, you want to interpret them. So what exactly those two lines means in light of your research for the reader who will read it. So when, for example, if I say that uh, people who are, like I said, high income people who are earning high, they are more inclined towards high end brand shopping. Okay, now you have to write your point of view here. So what you will say that on the careful analysis of the literature, it has been observed that consumers falling into high earning salary band tend to shop more with high end brands on the basis of their purchasing analysis or purchasing characteristics, on the basis of their incline towards more fashionable items which are procured by high-end brands. Now, from where do you get this information that high-end brand give you more options or probably better quality? That is also being given in one of the literature, and you will quote that literature source that according to so and so research, according to so and so paper, it has been clearly claimed that high-end brands give this feature to the consumer. That's why more people tend to buy with them. So you can actually give source of that. So basically when you say that my point of view is when you are explaining that thing which is being discussed by somebody else in their research for a normal reader. Manthan, I have already rolled like yes, historical research, you can answer that. Yes, Manthan, I think you just vanished by writing the question. You don't, I'll type it for you, okay? Yes, you can do SLR in historical research. Now my answer is documented, right? So, yes, you can do it. Any further more questions for anybody? Guys, if you have any questions, I think anybody who's starting with their research journey, who is yet to embark on research, and you find it very difficult to do quantitative researches, and it's very difficult for you to data analysis and all. I think it's good to start with SLR method of research. Yeah, because this way you gain, firstly you gain confidence that yes, you can write research reports, because I have seen students, they don't gain confidence to go for the quantitative side of research. NP, no plots in SLR to be used. In meta, yes, it is preferable to compare because you are actually comparing the results. So yes, Dr. Nija, can you help in identify people for collaborate work for to develop SL, or do you extend support and direction, please? Yes, Dr. Nija, I would be really happy. We can actually, if you are from management, we can actually collaborate on working together as so definitely, and in fact, anybody who is a part of this webinar right now, if they wants to work on SLR, they can get in touch with Dr. Nija. And Dr. Nija, you and me can also work together. That won't be a problem. Definitely adventure. We can do a practical session on meta analysis as well. Dr. Nija, may I know your domain, please? Yes, Mr. Sudeep. So if it's see if I tell you my domain, I have my papers published. I like my research paper. My research work extends from particularly from HR. Then I did in change management, entrepreneurship, social volunteering. My students, we did work together for empowerment for PhD, which we worked together. Sure, NP, sure, NP, sure, for sure. Definitely. Okay, you're from Commons Finance. Definitely. I'm from management HR particularly, but yes, we can do something, mix and match of different domains together. It will be great to work and, publish our thesis or publish our research papers together. Definitely, definitely. Can you help me in writing SLR paper? Definitely, Mr. Harsh. You can get in touch with the team and definitely the support will be given to you. Great, Dr. Nija. It's great to connect with you. Like NP, I don't know the name of the person. See, you got the ready uh, extension of support and collaboration here itself. Marketing and IT. Wow. See, so NP is from finance. Dr. Nija is from marketing and IT. Like for example, I'm from HR. So you get the best of all the worlds. Okay, Neha Pathak Rao. Ma'am, my domain is education. Do you help me to write reviews for this domain? For sure, Palash. Definitely get in touch with the team, and the requisite support will be given to you. In fact, when it comes to education, um, there was a research which we conducted. That's a published research that we conducted. How it impacted, how the online teaching impacted the teachers of higher education during COVID era. Well, gather those points. When I aim for more sophisticated research, looking forward even after respects. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, Sudhi. Thank you. Okay, adventure is for me. See, guys, once we are on webinar, right? So it's very good that like-minded people, and even if you're from different domains but same field, like somebody's from, like Dr. Nija is from marketing, adventure is from economics, Neha is from finance, we can get collaborative with each other. Just get hold of each other on LinkedIn, get connected, because this is the way only you can get connected with each other. So like Tripti said, she's from marketing and I've already written my SLA, but just want to recheck for improving the quality. Definitely, Tripti, you can get in touch with the team. It'll be done for you. Definitely, definitely. Yes, SLR paper is, if you have done, so good to go. And I think SLR paper is one step which you take towards your research writing journey, because it's not possible for everyone to write quantitative paper in first go. So SLR paper gives you that confidence that yes, we can write. In fact, my own two of my publications are based on SLR. So it's like wisely chosen topic, carefully done SLR paper. It's good to go ahead with. Yeah. Great to be connected with people, like-minded people. So I always say that it's a give and take for all of us. So Dr. Nisha and whosoever wants to get connected for the paper writing, we can actually, yeah, now to see Dr. Nisha, the number which we have displayed on the screen. Um, I will tell the team to to get connected to, so that they can connect both of us or anybody who's interested only in research writing. From there we can plan that how we can choose a topic, how we can actually go ahead with it. Thank you, Prasanna, thank you so much. So we will take forward from here, Dr. Nisha. Yeah, we will take forward. Thank you, Sapnija. Thank you for it. Thank you so much, everyone. It was indeed a pleasure conducting for people from different parts of the world. And it's been a long journey of me also with a research graduate. Like when I was in Dubai, this journey started, and there also since then I'm in. It's always an interactive session with researchers from different parts of the world. So it is always great, always great. Thank you, Revati. Thank you so much. Thank you so very much. It's indeed a pleasure for me to get connected. Thank you, Neha. Thank you. And I'll tell the team too, so that if anybody wants to get connected for the team for the writing purpose, we can. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Nija. Sure, sure, sure. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. It was wonderful interacting with you. So, for the next webinar, you'll all be notified, and we'll see you in the next time. And looking forward to meet you again with another interesting topic. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.